Tonight, we want to specifically remember all those from our community and from throughout the United States of America who are serving on foreign soil in defense of the liberties of the United States of America. And we just ask that a special blessing be showered upon each and every one of those men and women who are doing such a vital mission. As always, we want to also remember those from our community who are sick or suffering in some way, and we just ask that a special blessing be showered upon them. And we ask for guidance and direction and understanding as we discuss the various items of business before us. We ask for all these blessings. Amen. Alderman Rosado, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Brown.
Here.
Rosado.
Here.
Atack. Here. Stark.
Here.
Janzit.
Here.
Wolf. Salvati.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Callahan.
Here.
Meitzler.
Here.
Malay.
Here.
Ewer.
Here.
Cerrone.
Here.
McFadden.
Let the record reflect that 12 of the 14 members of the city council are present. We have one that's on the phone, and we need a motion to allow Alderman Stark to attend the meeting by telephone.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Clerk, call the roll on that, please.
Atack. Aye. Stark.
Aye.
Janzit.
Aye.
Salvati.
I don't think we need the motion, though.
Just to clarify Mr. Shanzit's point, due to recent changes in the municipal code for the city of Batavia, you don't actually need an affirmative motion to allow Alderman Stark to participate. However, if you want to take the vote to more or less verify the fact that everybody's okay with her participating, you guys may do so.
I think we need a record that shows that.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Cerrone.
All right.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Motion was approved by what? Everybody vote for it?
Yep.
Okay. I had a message from Alderman McFadden that he thought he would try to be at the meeting a little bit later. He's tied up in business, but he hopes to be here fairly soon, just to put you on notice that we should expect him to be arriving. Okay, moving to item number 4, items to be removed, added, or changed on tonight's agenda. Alderman Atack, do you have anything as Chairman of Governmental Services?
No, I don't have anything this evening.
Anybody else? Okay, moving to item number 5, which is presentation of tonight's consent agenda. Alderman Atack, please.
The consent agenda reads as follows. Accept and place on file Committee of the Whole minutes for October 17th, 2017. October 2017 Building Report. Approvals, November 17th, 2017 payroll in the amount of $791,028.57. Accounts payable check register in the amount of $3,574,162.68. City Council minutes for November 6, 2017. Resolution 17-111-R authorizing execution of task order number 4 with Power Systems Engineering Group for professional engineering services related to the Highlands Electric improvements for the amount not to exceed $25,955. Resolution 17-123-R authorizing task order number 5 with PSE for designing a new distribution substation at the Northeast Substation for an amount not to exceed $385,000. Resolution 17-122-R authorization to bind insurance for property, liability, and workers' compensation. Resolution 17-124-R accepting a plat dedicating a portion of Main Street for the Evangelical Church at 314 Main Street. Resolution 17-121-R awarding a 3-year contract for water distribution system leak detection to Consulting Engineering for the amount not to exceed $71,250 over a 3-year period. That would be $23,750 annually. I move that we accept the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Atack, second by Alderman Cerrone. I'm also advising that Alderman Wolf has entered the meeting. I saw him outside, so I didn't even bother to look to see if you were there, or see if you were bringing in toys, I think. So, we have a motion and second. Clerk, call the roll.
Atak?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Chansett?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Salvati?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Meitzler?
Aye.
Malay?
Aye.
Ewer?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Rosado?
Aye.
Motion is approved by a vote of
13.
13 yes, no no's, 1 currently absent. Okay, now for one of the higher moments of the year for the Batavia City Council. We're going to move to item number 6, and we're going to have a presentation this evening from Mr. Roy Bailey and Mr. Rudy Dubas about the Access Toy Program that we are deeply involved in at the moment. And this,
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Mayor, I got to start this out a little bit different today because the mayor said that we're going to have a lot of Batavia people here tonight. Hello, Batavia. And thanks for coming. Wow, unbelievable. I'd like to thank a few people before I get kind of into the program here that I want to talk a little bit about the toys. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for providing us this year with all these toys. What a great table out there, whatever the council has bought in and all the Batavia folks have bought to make a Merry, Merry Christmas for many, many children here in Batavia. We've got a few drop-off spots for additional toys to be put in for the children here in Batavia. And my wife wrote this down, so if I make a mistake, it's all on her. She's not here, so I can say whatever I want. The Salt Exchange.
You do realize that this is recorded and being broadcast live.
Chief, Police Department, protect me. Fox River Dental, Pal Joey's, Funway, Biana's, the Batavia Library, both fire stations, Carl's Auto Center, and I think today my daughter was playing hooky from Geneva High School. She's a teacher over there, but apparently they're not teaching anything today. So she was out delivering some boxes to different schools here in Batavia so children can drop off toys here in Batavia. It's kind of neat standing here in front of you tonight and talk about the toy drive. I was walking along the streets this week. A gentleman walked up to me and he says, "Hey, Bailey." I said, "How are you?" He says, "You still taking care of those poor kids and those poor families in Batavia?" Kind of looked around and I go, "I don't take care of any poor kids, poor families. Take care of people with needs." I said, "Do you have any needs?" He said, "Yeah." I says, "The people here in Batavia have needs. And we're going to take care of those people with needs that's going to have a Merry, Merry Christmas for their children." So we don't have any poor kids or poor families here in Batavia. We all have needs. And these people have needs to have a Christmas for their families. This week I had a chance the mayor to dig around in some of Mom's old suitcases. Boy, what a treasure that was. And in that old suitcase I found many, many tablets of how she went out and visited different organizations and names that she had put down that they needed to take care of. You know what the history of that's been? I can tell you that since my mother and Ruth Johnson started this program, how many years you think it's been done here in Batavia? 55 years we have run this program. I can tell you that across the Fox Valley, I think Batavia might be the only community that's still doing this for Batavians. Someone asked me once, they says, well, tell me how you've been able to do that for 55 years. I said, there's 3 reasons. And I said, you can pick any one of the 3 that you can come up with, and that could be your answer. The first one, as I said, did you know Mildred Bailey? And they go, well, and I know if anybody here that knew Mildred Bailey, she's not going to leave until she gets what she wants. She's going to look you in the eye and tell you, you need to do this for me, and I'm going to make it happen. The second was always having the support of the mayor, whoever that might have been, in the council. And the third, as I probably said many, many times at this podium and across Batavia, once a Batavian, always a Batavian. So those 3 things taking place of what I told that individual, that's the reason that we've been able to do this for 55 years. The date for the toy giveaway will be December 10th over at the old Walgreens building. Believe it or not, I graduated from college a few years ago. That store, before it was a Walgreens, was a Jewel food store. I don't know why Jewel hired me, but they hired me as a store manager to run that location back many, many years ago. Walking around in that facility, and I'm telling my daughter, over there the green beans used to be, and over there used to be produce, and I used to carry out Mrs. Jones's groceries out in that parking lot because there's only 52 parking spots in that parking area. So it's like coming home, being in that facility. I'd like to thank BEI for donating that facility to us. Numbers for the year. They've been collecting pretty much for the last 2 to 3 weeks the names of people that will be able to come to the toy drive. Right now we have a close to almost 300 families that we're going to take here in Batavia. 300 families. I'm not going to tell you how many children that relates to, but think about numbers. Even if it's 2 to a family, how many kids that's going to be. The letters will go out to all the people to let them know that they will be invited on December 10th at 2 o'clock. We're going to make sure everybody gets taken care of. I think with the generous offering that I see here today, from the boxes that we will pick up at all the locations here in Batavia, we will have another successful year. This is 55, next year is 56. Looking forward to having anybody that would like to stop in and take a look on that Sunday, the 10th, your toys, where they went, how they were displayed. Stop in and before, from 1 to 2. At 2 o'clock, we open it up only to the families that are going to come for toys. Again, the city of Batavia has been behind this program for many, many years, 55 years. This community stands alone as one of the only communities in the area that step up and take care of not poor people, not poor families, but people in needs. Look forward to this year of being another successful year. The age limit, I think somebody asked me when I was sitting over there, what is the age limit of the children? It's 0 to 16 years of age. I know Alderman Brown always tells me, well, when you start running out of toys, how do you give a 15-year-old boy a Barbie doll? Well, we always figure it out. So everybody walks out with a nice toy. So unless the council or anybody has any questions that I'll be asked.
In previous years, you said that you cut it really close.
Yeah.
How are you doing? How are you doing this year? And is there any last minute anything that you need from the community?
Well, I always keep my fingers crossed. And my mother always said, when you get to Thursday beforehand, you start praying. Rudy and I many times have said to ourselves, well, this year we're not going to make it. But somehow, some way, somebody always steps up and makes the day a success. The thing that's really tough for us to provide for, and going back to Alderman Brown, is the teams. I mean, you want to make sure that those teams have a nice present along with the 8 or 10-year-old. I mean, we think of Christmas of being the juvenile ages, but you got a 14, 15, 16-year-old out there that needs to have Christmas too. So that's, any checks or gift cards or whatever, don't make the checks out to me because I can't cash them anyway. Make them out to Batavia Access Toys, and that should come to the police department. Any gift cards need to come to the police department here also, not to one of the drop-off boxes. Not that we don't want them to take gift cards and checks, but all monetary needs to come through here, through the city. Any other questions?
Alderman Brown?
Well, I guess I could have a question with this comment, but first I want to thank everybody for jumping in tonight and throwing everything over on the table there, from the council to staff to the people that are sitting in the audience. I really appreciate it, as I know Roy does. But the other thing is, maybe it is a question, is since you've been doing this, since your family, and it started out with Ruth and your mother, have been doing this for 55 years, that's kind of a historic thing, I think. And I'm just wondering if maybe Rory might want to donate some of those items that you said you found in the suitcase to the Historical Society, and maybe that might be something that years down the road could be something of some real meaning. Mayor, you're pretty much on top of that, and I know, Roy, you talk to the mayor all the time, so maybe that's something you guys can discuss.
I think I'd look at that, but you know what? I'm holding 2 people hostage with that. My son, who's a police officer in Oswego, and my daughter, who's a teacher up in Geneva. I'm turning those books over to them and making sure that the legacy that what my mother put forth doesn't go away. So at this point in time, it's pretty much on them right now, what they want to do with it. They would love to turn them over to anybody and get them away from them, but that's where they're going to end up at this point in time. Thanks for the offer, though. Anybody else?
Well, Roy, we thank you for your continued leadership on here. You're doing your mother proud. She would be very pleased with all that you're doing. And you and I talked the other day about the numbers we think we're going to have, and it looks like we could be in line for another record year, and that's a pretty healthy number. And one of the things we try to do here is kind of maintain some of this in an air of confidentiality. We don't put out the list of the names of who we're giving these to. We pre-qualify all the people who are going to be invited. We send them a letter, and we develop that list of kind of a conversation that goes on between our church community, the police community, and the school district as to folks who we think may need some help. And we don't say you got to come. This is an invitation. If you need it, please feel free to come. And many of them do, and some of them say, well, I used to need it, but I don't need it anymore, but thank you very much. And so the other thing we do is that we conduct this thing with a cadre of uniformed police officers holding the door and welcoming people, because we found over the years that we have some, I'll call them party crashers, that want to come in and invite themselves to this. And we have to have some way to uninvite some of these people, because as Roy's mother used to tell me, there are some of these people who have no business in here. And she made no bones about it. And one time I even saw her take somebody out herself, which
With a broom.
with a broom. So
She's a broom expert, so.
So anyway, it has its moments, but we do it, and hopefully we do it in a high-class manner that we don't embarrass anybody or cause anybody any consternation, and that's one of the proud aspects of this whole program. So Roy, thank you again for keeping it going, and we'll look forward to some more good years in the future as we get through with this one.
Good, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Batavia. Thanks, everybody back here. I'm going to graciously leave. I got to go feed the reindeers and check on the elves to make sure that they're still doing what they're doing. So, thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, to keep up the good... Keep up the good news moment. We're going to ask Jamie Somm, the Executive Director of Batavia Main Street, to come and share a few words of wisdom with us.
Hold on, I've got a lot of information tonight. I'm also doing the Kiwanis thing, just so that you know, so I'll pause and then continue. All right, so before the meeting, I passed out some information for all of you guys, and there is a little bit of information on the table for anybody who wants to snag it on the way out. The council, you guys got a Shop Small bag. Some of you may already have them from other events we've been hosting. We also have, from the Main Street perspective, we have our banner winners for 2018-19. So that we put on Facebook. We also had our board vote on those, and the community really spearheads who the winners are for that. So that's our downtown banner program. You see those on Wilson Street and on Batavia Avenue. They're designed by the Batavia High School graphics students. We do a little competition for winter, spring, summer, and fall. So we will be presenting those to the council next month, having the students come here so you guys can see them and we can congratulate them for winning. And then we'll see those over the next 2 years out there. So last month, I skipped because I wasn't feeling great. So I have to give a quick recap on Oktoberfest, Batfest, and the Christmas Collective, because we wrapped up the end of our super busy season. We're heading into the sleeper months. So Oktoberfest, if you came down to that or didn't come down to it, it was a super big success despite the rain. So Oktoberfest and Batfest, we had some cruddy weather, but that didn't stop people from coming out, which was exciting. And it's, I think, a testament to not only our community, but our events and everything that's happening in downtown, that people just want to be here, down here, no matter what the weather is. If there's something happening, they're coming down. And that's super awesome. So we actually grew the event by 47% from last year, and last year was our first year. So that's really huge. For next year, we are working on adding a third day. So that will be Sunday, and that will be Family Day. We've already started to talk to Comcast about having an Xfinity zone where we play the football game on Sunday, and some other fun things focused on bringing the whole family down to spend the day down on River Street. So that's Oktoberfest. Batfest, again, we had our first snowfall, which was super exciting while we were setting up. But it didn't matter because everybody brought their kids out all decked out in their costumes. Businesses around town reported same numbers as last year, and last year it was like 60 degrees and sunny. So having the first snowfall on Batfest this year to sun last year didn't adjust the kids coming out, which again was really exciting. Tons of kids participated in the costume contest here at Peg Bond. We had over 75 downtown businesses participate in the trick-or-treating. That event, Batfest, it is a complete promotion event for Main Street, so it is all to drive people coming into downtown, and it's always a huge success. When I start to go around, this year I actually started to go around to the businesses in beginning of September, asking them about trick-or-treating only because they started to ask me in the beginning of September. So they were looking at it almost 2 months in advance, wondering if they were going to get on the map. So that's super exciting that the businesses want to step up to the plate to get those kids and the families in front of their businesses walking around town. And that's on all ends. So that's on Batavia Avenue, the obvious Island Avenue and Wilson Street, but all the way down to 7-Eleven and Dimples Donuts, they all participate. So it's one of the only events that many businesses participate in our downtown. 2 weekends ago, we had our Christmas collective. Formerly, that was the holiday market. A bunch of different organizations started hosting other holiday markets, so it got a little confusing with the names, so we switched it. We had right around 30, 35 all handmade local artisans this year. So the quality of the items were amazing. We had just under 1,000 people come shopping over the 3 days. Some of the vendors were keeping tally of where the people making purchases came from. So we had people from Wheaton, Naperville, St. Charles, Geneva, South Elgin, just to name a few of the places that people came to downtown Batavia to shop. We hosted it at the Congregational Church this year. The vendors reported that their sales were the same, if not better, than last year. So that was good as well. Nice little shift of people focusing on local handmade items, not just mass produced and stuff. Of course, we want to support our big businesses, but that brings me to Shop Small Saturday, which is coming up. So those are our past events. This weekend, we've got Shop Small Saturday. So that's where your bag comes from. I don't think I gave you guys any other information. We've got these. As you drive around downtown, you guys will see the big blue posters in people's windows. People have the bags. People have the mats out. We've got all different kinds of stuff that we're putting out. So we have a list of 20 or so businesses, small locally owned businesses that have donated items. So when you drive down 31 and go to the special occasions windows, where normally there's a bunch of dresses and everybody sits and looks at those gorgeous windows, one of the windows is decked out with the items that businesses have donated. So some donated gift baskets, some donated furniture. Mary at Special Occasions donated a gift certificate for a dress and for a tux rental. So if you've got kids going to prom or anything like that, those are really good prizes to win. So on this Saturday, after Black Friday, after Thanksgiving, if you shop in downtown, the businesses will have this flyer and they'll be designated on the back the ones that will be giving out the raffle tickets. So if you spend $20 or more at any of those businesses, they'll give you a raffle ticket. We'll have a big blue box right in downtown at Island and Wilson Street, right by the Storehenge. So I'm making a big box that has the Shop Small on it. And you'll put those in there that day, and then we'll be pulling names to win the prizes. So this is just to get you guys remembering to get downtown. We've got so many businesses down here. You know, we've got specific retailers, but we've got restaurants, we've got salons, everything that you can purchase for everybody on your Christmas list right here in downtown Batavia, gift cards, everything like that. One of the other promotions that we're coming up with for December is Downtown Santa. So he'll be back. I just got the glasses in the mail today. Not that Santa has to order his glasses online, but my Santa does. He wanted to be able to see the children this year, because last year he couldn't. So Downtown Santa will be at Limestone on December 2nd, December 9th at Beardsguard, and December 16th at Underground Allegro. From 10 until noon, the event will be happening. From 10 until noon, we'll have a free craft, and then at 11 o'clock, we'll be bringing in Santa for photos and giving out little goodies for the kids. It's all free, so bring your kids down. As we wrap up the year, we have sponsorships. That's how we fund out a lot of our programming. So if anybody around the table is interested, or anybody out there has businesses or anything like that you're interested in downtown Batavia sponsorships for our events. So, you know, we do Indoor Market, Oktoberfest, Egg Hop, Cocktails in the Park, Race to Market, Well Batavia, Farmers Market, Batavia Dinner Table, all those things. There's sponsorships available, as well as the downtown banners. So just reach out to us and let us know. I'm going to talk about two things that aren't Main Street just really quick, because I know they don't get an opportunity to come and talk about it. So I did pass out these to all the council. I don't think I have extra ones over there, but you can get them online. The Batavia Food Pantry is doing a reverse advent calendar. So for the month of December, they have items listed that you can collect and put into a paper bag at your house. And then at the end of the month, or on the 25th, you bring those to the food pantry and donate that. So it's kind of a fun little project to do as an individual, have each of your kids do it, or do it as a family. I believe they'll be passing these out at the Celebration of Lights, which that's the final thing I'll talk about for Main Street. This Sunday from 4 until 7, down here at Peg Bond, around City Hall, at the Depot Museum, is the Celebration of Lights. So bring your families out. The Park District hosts this. We partner, the Chamber partners, all the downtown, all the Batavia organizations partner. There will be Christmas caroling. There's the Christmas tree lane, which I finished decorating our shop small tree. I wrote all of the downtown retailers, salons, businesses on little ornaments, so go check them out. I'm sure I forgot some, but I wrote a lot. There's the mayor lights the giant tree out there. There's story time at the depot, all different fun things. So bring your families down. The weather doesn't look too terrible, I don't think, so it should be a fun time. So again, as we head into 2018, we are gearing up and making all our plans for our events. If you're interested in helping out in any way, we are going to be looking for some new volunteer leaders to help us with core programming. So, we always want to grow our committees for new ideas. So just reach out to us. You can call the Main Street office at 630-761-3528. Find us on our website, downtownbatavia.com, and make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And that's it for Main Street.
Okay, now Jamie's going to talk to us for a moment about the Kiwanis.
Okay. All right. So, hold on, one more thing. Two more things. Sorry, guys. Just really quick, upcoming things. So we've got the indoor market happening every Saturday from 9 until noon at Gaetano's. We have 10 to 12 vendors every week. So everything from Sitka salmon, I think curds and whey is going to be coming, breads, veggies, baked goods, fresh flowers, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you come down there. And we are still accepting SNAP. You just have to call us at our office and come swipe during the week, and then the vendors will accept the tokens on the weekends. We just don't have a market manager there, and Wendy and her guys downstairs can't really manage that for us. The other thing is the Post to Present celebrating 60 years of skating in Batavia. So this is Saturday, January 6th. So after everybody's done praying for the toy drive, let's start praying for ice on the depot pond so we can all skate on January 6th. Funway is accepting donations of used skates because a lot of people have them in their closets at home, past sizes, or maybe you just don't skate anymore. They're going to be putting in new laces, sharpening the blades, and having them for donation rental at this event. So it's 60 years of Batavia being featured on the Saturday Evening Post. We'll have open skating on the depot, music and live entertainment with the Batavia Community Band, cider and hot dog stand with Bernese Bully Dogs, fire pits, and more. So it's just a fun community day. So make sure you guys put that on your calendar and come out for that. Now I'm done with Main Street officially, and the Batavia Kiwanis. So, hold on. There we go. All right. So the Kiwanis Club of Batavia has been serving the children of Batavia and the surrounding communities since 1978. I requested to be on today. I was hoping one of the other members would be able to make it, but they weren't able to. But I have been on for about a year and a half on the Kiwanis Club. When I was in high school, I was a Key Club member. So Key Club is the service club affiliated in the high school level with Kiwanis. So this year, I thought it was really exciting that the tiny Batavia Kiwanis Club of about 20 members was able to donate $3,450 in the 2016 to 17 fiscal year to a group of local organizations that support families and children in Batavia and in the Tri-Cities. So Tri-City Family Services, Lazarus House, Tri-City Health Partnership, Ready Ecuador, Mutual Ground, King County CASA, Suicide Prevention Services, Batavia Interfaith Food Pantry, and Valley Sheltered Workshop. And this is from different fundraisers, and there's a charitable account they created, the Batavia Kiwanis Club Foundation. So it's now a 501c3. So this is kind of a new branch of the organization, really investing dollars back in. because the focal point is supporting the kids' service programs, service and leadership. So with that, in case you don't know, the Kiwanis Club starts at the elementary school level with K-Kids. So that is, most of the schools do 3rd to 5th grade. Some of them do the entirety, kindergarten through 5th. We now have 3 K-Kids organizations in Batavia, so Louise White, Hooverwood, and HC Storm, or Grace McWayne and HC Storm. Oh man, I should have written those down. Anyway, we do have 3 officially, and they're all run a little bit differently. They all have an academic advisor, and then they also have a Kiwanis Club advisor, and they are focused on teaching the kids leadership skills and serving in their schools and in their community. So it gives them opportunities to do that with their families as well as inside the walls of their school with their peers. Then in middle school, it's Builders Club. The Builders Club, there's only one Builders Club at the Batavia Middle School, and I believe there's about 50 students. And then in high school, it's Key Club, and Key Club has something around 150 students involved. So it's a big deal. And they're all very, very active, and they're very impressive students. It's awesome to get to interact with them at the Kiwanis level to the Key Clubbers. The Key Clubbers are hosting Mr. BHS, which if you went to Batavia High School, then you should know all about that. And they'll be getting it out there. I connect them with the newspapers to get some articles, because last year they raised about $7,000 for the Kiwanis Neuroscience Research Fund, and this year their goal is $10,000, which I think is really impressive for high school students. It's spearheaded by just a small group of them to set their sights that high to raise that much money through one event at the high school. We have a new program that we're doing that is the cash prize calendar. So this calendar, you may have seen it a while ago. We put it out to request photography submissions from local photographers. We put this together. Lighthouse Marketing put it beautifully together for us, which is so nice. So each month features a different local, most amateur photographers, different events. Some of them have people in them, some of them don't. Unique photos, and then it also has the 2018 calendar to the best that I could get it. So it has all the Main Street events, important chamber events, city events, and school district, as well as park district. So they are a $50 donation to the foundation, so it is tax deductible, and you have an opportunity to win. There's 52 draws every week, and you can win $25. We're only selling 100 of these, so your odds are very, very good. Then there are 3 draws for a $150 prize and 1/4 one for $250. So once your name's in there, you can win all of them if you're really lucky. So we don't take your name out once you've won once. So you can win, you can pay off your calendar, you can win a bunch more money. All of the funds from this calendar are going back to support our youth service clubs and the scholarships that we give to the Key Clubbers. So we give over $3,000 in scholarships annually to Key Club members for college expenses. So if anybody's interested in one of those, let me know. I have some here. Otherwise, you can reach out to me. You can call me at Main Street or find me in the world. If you're interested in becoming a Kiwanian, we meet twice a month. The second Tuesday at noon at Andre's and the third Wednesday at 6:30 at Pal Joey's. They're not required. You can pick one or the other, or you can come to everything if you want. They just kind of keep you updated on the service projects and opportunities with the club. An annual membership is $130. We have different business memberships and things like that. Again, some of it is tax deductible due to the foundation. So again, if you're interested in that, just let me know. And then make sure to follow Batavia, Kiwanis Club of Batavia on Facebook for more information about all the things that we're doing. And that's all I've got. I'm done.
Well, we thank you for that very detailed report.
Yeah, no problem. All right.
Let the record reflect that Alderman McFadden has entered the meeting, so we do have the full council accounted for. I just want to take a moment and explain, because we do have a large audience here, and I know many of you have never been to a regular Batavia City Council meeting before. We try to open every one of our meetings not with necessary stationary business, but with things that are happening in the community, because the aldermen want to know what's happening in their town. And so we always try to come up with the good and the bad, and we have various groups come in and present to us and tell us what they're doing, as you've heard tonight. And I think we've just heard two very good reports of worthwhile activities that are taking place in Batavia. If you care to come back to our next meeting, I can promise you we'll probably have a crowd about this size in here, because we'll probably be honoring the Batavia High School football team for going to the state championship. And fortunately, we have the TV voice of the Bulldogs as a member of the city council, and Alderman Wolf. And so he gets the chance to read the name of each one of the players as we present them with a certificate, because I sure can't deal with all those names. So we try to do stuff like that just to kind of set the tone of the meeting, get people on the council feeling good about what's happening, let the community share with us what's going on in the community. And we just find that it's a very positive way for the city council to begin business and let things go on. We try to keep it to about a half hour to 45 minutes, and then the rest of it is business. So we're kind of right on time right now as far as we're concerned. But I just want to explain to you what we just did, and it's an ongoing thing, never stops. Every meeting we got something good to report or something to talk about, and we just think that that's the right way for a local government like ourselves to begin our meeting and share with ourselves and the rest of the community. And of course, it's on TV for anybody that's watching to see what's happening in town. Because at the end of the day, you sit here as an alderman and you say, gee, I just made that vote. Is that really going to have any impact, or is that going to do anything? Well, I think all these presentations we have gives us a good idea of what it is that's happening in our town out there. So appreciate your patience as we went forward, and hopefully everybody learned something. So now moving to item number 9 on our agenda, which is ordinance 17-62, amending the text of the zoning code for a GC General Central Commercial District. Alderman Brown, do you have this?
I do, Your Honor, thank you. I'll start out with a little bit of background on ordinance 17-62. Mr. Zoletta is looking to occupy a space of about 1,115 square feet at the Windmill Place Shopping Center, which is out off Arana Road between Wilson Street and Main Street. He's going to open up a tutorial service there, and this is an item that is not listed as in the definition of instructional services. So we need to pass this ordinance in order to allow him to do this. He was at the committee of the whole, and we did have quite a conversation and a little bit of discussion about the amount of non-retail use that we would like to see happen on Randall Road. As we did talk, there is, quite an economic engine out there. That is where most of our retail tax base comes from. And so we are quite concerned over allowing too much non-retail use in that area. So right now, our ordinances allow for 25% maximum space to be allowed to be non-retail. And this, if it passes here tonight, would bring it up to just 8%. So it's well within the parameters of what the prior city council has approved back in 2014. We did have some discussion. We did ask staff to bring back to us sometime after the first of the year an ordinance again where we would have a discussion on lowering that maximum amount of square footage that could be allowed non-retail. So that's something the committee will have discussion on after the first of the year. But in general, the committee was very satisfied with the request here. Plan Commission did conduct a public hearing on November 1st to review this ordinance, and I will move that we approve ordinance 17-62.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Wolf, or Chanzit, for the approval of ordinance 17-62. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Ordinance 17-62 is approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Moving to item number 10, which is ordinance 17-63, amending the text of the zoning code for 1485 Lewisport Drive, Unit 116. Alderman Brown, do you have this one, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. Both these ordinances here coming up Ordinance 1763 and Ordinance 1764 relate to the same property, which is 1485 Lewisburg Drive, Unit 116. The attached draft ordinance would allow AC Auto Sales and Services to establish a motor vehicle sales and leasing, new and used internet-based establishment at 1485 Lewisburg Drive, Unit 116. The proposed use requires a conditional use in the GI General Industrial District. Ordinance 1763 would amend the zoning code, creating a lesser parking requirement for motor vehicle sales when the establishment is internet-based. The proposed change is consistent with the recent parking variance for such a use. To create separate regulations, the use will be defined separate and added to the employment district use table 2.603 and off-street parking regulations table 4.204. Ordinance 17-64, when we get to it, would approve a conditional use permit for A and C Auto Sales and Services to operate this location subject to conditions. We did discuss this at the Committee of the Whole meeting, and this is very similar to another facility, another ownership that just asked for the same type of conditions, and we approved that. And they're one of, I think, 7 different businesses in town that have very similar amendments to the zoning code, and there's been no problem that staff has reported to us, so the committee saw no reason to not pass this. In fact, we saw some great advantages to having another sales opportunity out in our industrial area where we could potentially be getting some sales tax benefit from it as well. So I move for approval of ordinance 17-63.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Chanzit for the approval of ordinance 17-63. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atak.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Jansit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Ordinance 17-63 is approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Moving to item number 11, which is ordinance 17-64, approving conditional use for motor vehicle sales and leasings, new and used internet-based establishment at 1485 Lewisburg Drive, Unit 116. Alderman Brown?
So moved.
Second.
Move by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Chanzit for the approval of ordinance 17-64, approving a conditional use for a motor vehicle sales and leasing at 1485 Lewisburg Drive. Any discussion?
Is the applicant here? I think we invited the applicant.
Yeah, you want to come up and just quickly tell us what you're doing out there? And we know, but it might be good to let everybody else know, too.
Yeah, that's no problem. My name is Greg Caloris. Before I tell you a little bit about ANC Auto Sales, I'd like to just briefly talk a little bit more about myself because, auto sales, it's very wide pitched. So I think it depends on who's really running it to change kind of what perspective people have on auto sales. So I grew up in Chicago, and very little, I had a huge passion for cars. My grandfather was a machinist, and every weekend I went and I was watching him put together motors, fixing our own cars or fixing all the neighbors' cars. And as soon as I could start walking, I was helping him pick up tools and hold the flashlight. And something that my grandfather really taught me was to be honest and be fair with people. And that's something growing up that I've always brought with everything that I have done, and that's something that I want to bring into the automotive industry that I feel is not, that many places are not bringing to the table. So it became a passion of mine growing up cars. I went to college, Lincoln College of Technology in Melrose Park. I got all my automotive certificates, and then I later went to Aurora University, and I had my bachelor's in business and marketing, and that's kind of what brought me over to Batavia. And working through various automotive, whether it was sales or repair, because I've done both, I didn't feel that honesty and that they were really providing the best service that they could to their customers. And I felt like I might be able to do it better. And I felt like Batavia was a good place for me to try to to try to fulfill that goal of having my own business and running it the way that I think it should be ran. And that's, I really appreciate the opportunity that I could start that, and I can start that dream and try to bring honesty and integrity back into the automotive field. As far as ANC Auto Sales, it's going to be almost strictly internet-based. My showroom is 100% indoors. It's not a huge location, but it is very professional looking. Most of my sales are going to be through social media. As far as nowadays, I feel like nobody just goes to an automotive lot and just browses their vehicles. They have a vehicle that they have in mind, and they research it, and then they go to a lot that has one that matches what they're looking for. So I feel like I can meet the needs of the public by being strictly internet-based. As far as when they want to set up an appointment, that's when I'm going to be available for them. I'm going to have the cars, and I'm going to provide reliable cars at the best prices that I can. And that's looking forward. I think that internet-based is really the way that we need to go in the automotive sales to actually provide the services that the public is looking for.
Well, welcome to Batavia, number one.
Thank you.
Thank you for choosing us as the community you want to set up and do business. One of the things I would ask that you do before you get off the podium is, could you share, because we're on TV here, there's a lot of people watching, could you share what your internet address is so folks, if they want to dial you up, they can?
As of right now, I actually have not set up my
You got a phone
but
number?
ANC Auto Sales and Service, it's going to be on social media. It's going to be on Facebook. We're going to be, it's going to be hooked in through my LinkedIn account. My name is Gregory Coloris. For everybody watching, my last name's Coulouris. If you look me up, I'm going to be blasting it everywhere. As soon as we get open, it's going to be everywhere. So we're really going to try to get out there hard, starting it freshly in the new year. So that's when you can expect to see us. And if you're looking for a used car, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to give you the best price that I possibly can.
Well, very good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing more about you in the future.
I'm sure I'll see you
They'll
around.
all be good, I trust. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Laura?
I believe the owners of the tutoring service are also here. The tutoring service that was approved prior to this item.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's take a vote on that. Hold on just a minute. Let's take a vote on the ordinance 1764. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Motion's approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent. We have somebody from ordinance 1762 in the audience. The first, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about yourself, as long as we got you here?
So my name is Gustavo Solida. We try to add an amendment to instructional services as a non-taxable, business. And we're trying to open a location for it. Our name and company is Elite Tutoring Service of Batavia. And the location will be in the Windmill Place, and changing the whole city code on the Randall general commercial area. It's in order to be able to open our services. And,
I want you to tell about what services and what your business is. I'm not.
oh,
worried
it's a
about-
tutoring place. We're going to tutor kids from between K to high school, and we specialize on SATs and ACT test preps for the kids.
Okay.
That's mainly, and in general, based on instructional services, if there's any particular areas that we need to serve instructionals.
Well, we welcome you to the community too, and thank you for choosing us.
No, thank you. Have a good night.
All right, moving then to item 12, which is resolution 17-128-R, acknowledging the city will fund/sponsor Fox River Bike Path construction if we receive an ITEP funding grant is awarded. And who wants to talk about this one?
I think it's city services.
City Services.
Alderman Wolf, you want to do it?
That would be mine. This is a conceptual bike path that we talked about to realign the path along the riverfront, adjacent to the water treatment plant. The ITEP grant would prevent funding for this project, and this basically just says that we would, and this resolution will outline the commitments that we would have to be able to apply for this, and then come up with the money to match whatever portion we'd have to be on the hook for.
Yeah, basically, we're putting our hat in the ring for competition for some money from the
And it
feds
depends
through
on if we
the-
get
through
the
the
grant,
state.
there's different levels.
There are different levels. We may not get all we're asking for, which could present another issue for us. We are going to be responsible anyway. We'll look at it for at least 20% of a local match on this thing. I am told because of things that are happening in the greater world around us, not in Batavia or even the Fox Valley, but there is going to be heavy competition for this money in this cycle because there's just a lot of governments with similar projects that they want to do now, and nobody seems to be able to say how many they're going to be or what the whole dimensions of this pot of money are, but this is one that I believe only comes out every 2 years, and so we're going to try for some of it. If we don't get it, we will still have the plans and everything ready to go. Batavia's prided itself for a long time because we're one of the few towns on the Fox River that has bike trails on both sides of our river. And we do get an enormous number of bicyclists in town in good weather, especially on weekends. It's became basically kind of a tourist business for us to some degree. And I would certainly suggest we have 2 bicycle stores in downtown Batavia because we have these bike trails here and they need parts and need repairs, and some people want to buy a new bike when they're here. So that's been a good spin-off of this thing, but we do have a lot of people now use the bike trail not only for riding a bicycle, but for walking, for health and exercise, and it's become a very, very popular entity within our town and probably one of the great attributes that the community is now known for. So this is just an effort. We're talking about the area down by the wastewater treatment plant on the west bank of the Fox River, south of Wilson Street. And we have a bike trail that kind of wanders through there, but it's kind of rough in places. And this would literally take the trail and put it on the banks right along the Fox River where the sewer plant is. And some of it we were going to have to cantilever out onto the river because we don't have enough visible ground or usable ground in the treatment plant to build on, and that's why the cost of it has risen. But it's a long-term goal of the community to do this, and certainly I remember in 1981 when I was first elected mayor, the first thing that happened was the late Philip B. Elstrom, who was Kane County Board Chairman, showed up in my office and said, would the city be willing to buy half of this railroad right-of-way that runs through Batavia because we want to make it into a bike trail and the city can then use it as a utility right-of-way if we ever need it. So the city went in partnership with the county and we bought the land from Fabian Parkway south to Mooseheart Road. And that is where the bike trail was subsequently located, and the rest is history, as they say. We had a lot of people who were opposed to the idea and said it was going to have very negative impacts, but none of those seem to have occurred. So at the end of the day, I see all these thousands of people riding these bike trails here, and I say to myself, well, I think at the end of the day we did something that is for the betterment of Batavia. So you always don't know when you start stuff like this what's going to be the end result, but this one seems to have worked out pretty good for us. So I guess we need approval then of Resolution 17-128-R. Somebody care to make that a motion?
I'll make that motion that we approve Resolution 17-128-R.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman Savati for the approval of Resolution 17-128-R. Any discussion? Alderman Callahan?
Is there an amount that is going to be applied for, or
5 million.
5 million?
And I think the other thing that we would need to remember on this is that there is also a bank stabilization component of this that will also help stabilize the banks in the areas where we're right actually in the edge of the river.
Any other questions? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Jansit.
Aye.
Resolution 17-128-R is approved. 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Okay, moving to 13, and I guess we got to change attorneys here. Good evening. We're going to review ordinance 17-59, amendment to the zoning map for a planned development overlay district. Alderman Brown, do you have this?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to go ahead and just read the memo that staff put out on this, and then I'm going to, it's my understanding that the developer would like to address the council.
Yeah, I have
Right.
something to read too before we get to that point.
Okay. All right, so in summary, on November 6, 2017, the City Council resumed consideration of Ordinance 17-59 that would amend the zoning map with a planned development overlay, and Resolution 17-103-R that would create 2 lots and dedicate street right-of-way and easements for the property at 901 North Batavia Avenue. The City Council acknowledged receipt of a protest against the proposed amendment to the zoning map that was filed by the property owner to the north. Council action on November 6th was to continue these items again to the council meeting on November 20th. These items had been continued previously from the council meeting of October 20th. Both the ordinance and the resolution received 9-5 votes to recommend City Council approval at the Committee of the Whole meeting on October 10, 2017. At the November 6th meeting, David Block of Evergreen Real Estate Group stated that he did receive notification of the protest filed. He requested a continuance of council consideration and action on the ordinance and resolution for 2 weeks to provide time for his council to evaluate the validity of the protest. City of Batavia Special Counsel Mark Schuster has determined that the filed protest is valid. The effect of the valid protest to the amendment of the zoning map is the requirement of 2/3 vote of approval by the alderman to adopt the ordinance to amend the zoning map. With the current valid protest, approval of ordinance 17-59 will require 10 positive votes from the Batavia alderman. Resolution 17-103-R requires a simple majority vote of the quorum for approval. Staff feels this subdivision should not be approved if the planned development is not approved. The proposed lots are configured to accommodate the use in the building that would be established only with the approval of the planned development. So, staff's recommendations for tonight's meeting are in accordance with the COW's recommendations. Staff recommends the City Council approve Ordinance 17-59 and Resolution 17-103-R as presented. Staff further recommends Ordinance 17-59 be considered and acted on first. In the event there are insufficient votes to approve Ordinance 17-59, staff recommends the City Council table consideration of Resolution 17-103-R. Evergreen Real Estate Group may withdraw its subdivision application. So I just want to reiterate again, because it is staff's recommendation for the approval of these, but it did come out of the Committee of the Whole with a positive recommendation to the City Council. So, Your Honor, I will turn it back over to you.
Yeah, just so we have some understanding, both by the council and those in the audience, as to, what we're doing here, I asked the city administrator to prepare for me a statement which kind of outlines the issues and the areas that this could go. I believe she consulted with Attorney Schuster on this, and then she writes to me, if Evergreen asks you to table the vote, the current application is still viable. Under Robert's rules, you will need to identify a date and place of the next meeting at which the matter would be considered. And that could be several months down the road. When we say the next meeting, it's not necessarily the next city council meeting. It could be sometime after that. In the meantime, the developer may choose to leave the application in its current state, revise it, or pull it. A revised application would need to be reviewed to determine whether the changes require greater modifications from the zoning code than the previous version. At any rate, even if a new plan required the same modifications as the old plan, it would still have to go through the design review process with the Batavia Plan Commission and get a certification of approval, COA, from the Batavia Historic Preservation Commission. Evergreen might not ask you to table your vote, in which case you would vote, and without a supermajority, the application is dead, and in these circumstances, the developer could then walk away, or he could resubmit his plan with a new application. Now, the one thing I also want to make clear is that with this two-thirds vote, I guess it is, there's a clear statement in the state statutes that says that the mayor's no longer voting on this because it's not going to end up being a tie with a two-thirds vote. Am I correct in that?
That's the correct result, Mr. Mayor. The statute requires that there be 10 favorable votes of the aldermen.
Right.
So the
Can't
mayor.
be the mayor, 9 on the
That's
alderman.
right. The mayor has no vote on this question of the approval of the petition for zoning map amendment.
Okay, well, I just want everybody here and in the audience to understand that this is truly one that rests with the 14 members of the city council, because of the way the statute's written, the mayor is taken out of the voting in this thing. So, Mr. Block, you want to make some comments?
Yeah, although I think I actually need some technical assistance here with this screen. I'm not sure which button I pushed. Is this the right? No, that's the computer. Sorry, bear with us for a second. No, I'm telling it to extend. This usually works. Let me try it with this. There we go. All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Batavia City Council. I'm David Block, Director of Development for the Evergreen Real Estate Group. Thank you, as always, for your time, your patience, and your thoughtfulness in looking at this. We don't have substantive disagreements with the statements that the staff have put together on this. We recognize that the protest has been filed against the majority vote approval of the zoning map amendment. While our council has indicated that there may be some technical issues with the protest as filed, we didn't think that they were of sufficient concern that in the end they would stop the effect of that protest vote. And so we recognize that we need to have a vote of 10, an affirmative vote of 10, in order to move forward with the zoning map amendment. So we're kind of at a fork in the road here. We can either take the vote and assume, based on what we've seen over the last 6.5 months and probably 200 plus hours of public meetings, that we are going to come close but no cigar, and have to kind of go back and figure out what we do. Or we can at least begin a conversation with you this evening about some potential changes that we could make to the approach that we're taking. We're not expecting any change in your thinking this evening, but at least we wanted to have the conversation, to begin the conversation, get a little bit of feedback, and at that point, at the end of this discussion, I may still ask you to vote and sort of see where that shakes out, or I may ask for a continuance. I'd like to at least have the conversation, if it's okay with you, and kind of see where it goes. I'm not expecting this to take all that much time. So I think with this, I'd like to share with you some thoughts about an approach to addressing what we've heard as some of the most substantial problems that people have had with the housing units that we have shown in the Campana redevelopment. What we've heard fairly consistently is that there are concerns about putting families, some families with children, into units that have only the windows below the sill level and then 10 feet of glass block above it. We've heard concerns about safety in that. We've heard concerns about whether that is humane or the right thing to do. We've heard concerns about heating and cooling costs. And despite what some who are opposed to this project may think, we actually have been listening pretty carefully to all of those concerns. And Alderman Salvati at the last meeting asked what I thought was a really important question, which is, why didn't you bring this to us sooner? And I think we have two true answers to that question. The first is that we really do believe in the original plan as we proposed it to you. We disagree with those who think that the units that we're proposing are inappropriate or somehow going to be substandard. We actually think that they're going to be terrific. We think that we have addressed some of the technical issues of heating and cooling with the way that we're dealing with insulation and some of the other systems that we have in this building. So I think that's the first answer. I think the second answer is consistent with something that we have been sharing with this body all along, which is that this project is regulated by 4 or arguably 5 layers of government. There's the City of Batavia and its bodies. So this body, the Plan Commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, there's King County, there's the state of Illinois and various state agencies, and there's the federal government through the National Park Service and the Department of the Treasury and so forth. And at each juncture in this project, folks have come up to this podium and said, well, how do we know that Evergreen is going to be able to proceed with this project? Because they don't have XYZ approval from the state agency, or they don't have XYZ approval from the federal agency. And so we've been trying to hold those levels of the project together. And if we had to make a project change, like what we are going to show you in just a moment here, that would mean going back to those agencies and asking them for permission to make some changes to the project. And of course, the worry is always in that conversation that we would expose ourselves to additional criticism that says, well, now we know they don't have that approval. And so it's a chicken and egg problem that we find ourselves in. And as developers, we need to manage multiple layers of government approval as best we can. And the third reason is really just a very pragmatic, simple reason, which is, I think, the nature of the conversation this evening. We can count. And we acknowledge that if we need 10 votes, we've heard consistently that there are 9 aldermen who support this project, 5 who have been fairly consistently opposed to the project. And I'm not sure that this approach would really change anybody's mind. And so that, again, is the nature of why we have brought this to you now. And so let me just very quickly go through what we're proposing. I think the big issue is the units on the east side of the building, so on the river side of the building. As you know, that is what is most protected by the historic preservation requirements. It's what's protected by the local requirements. It's what the historic tax credit requirements hold us to. And it's what we've had most of the criticism about. And so what if we made some changes to that? So what you see here in the plan, and I guess I'm not sure which screen I'll point to, but what you see here in the plan, this is the east face of the building. So this is Fabian Parkway over here. Route 31 is down here. Here's the big lawn in front. So here is the mattress store. The mattress store is not changing. What we're proposing to do is reduce the number of units on the east face of the building and move some of those units to another place on the site. And we're proposing to change the configuration of the windows in the north and south wings of the building, which are built in the 1960s and are considered by the Historic Preservation Authorities to be less sacrosanct. than the original 1937 building. So in sum, in the blue areas here, we would remove units from the building. And on the second floor as well, that was an area where we think, I think justifiably received criticism that those units do not have the subsill windows at all. Those just have skylights. So we are removing windows from the blue locations, and in the back wing of the building, the west wing, where the training facility is and the volleyball facility, in a portion of that, we're not displacing the volleyball, put units on the first floor of that and on the second floor of that. And we think we can get some units into that part of the building. And then on the north wing of the building, instead of having a subsill condition, we'll enter into a dialogue with the National Park Service to see if they will allow us to insert operable windows into the field of glass block so that actually you will have vision out of that glass block at eye level when you're standing up. So you don't have to be sitting down in order to look out the window. I don't know if the Park Service will approve this. My preliminary conversations with the SHPO, the state level of historic preservation, says, yeah, we think we can get there, but again, there's some approval conversations that need to take place. So the net effect of this move is that right now there are 23 units in our plan on the east side and up in this level here. There are 23 units that have that subsill or skylight only condition. The net effect of this plan would be to reduce that number to 8. And so that is the kind of move that we're looking at to change the project. And again, I'm not expecting to change anybody's mind on this, certainly not this evening, but I am just very curious to hear your thoughts on this and frankly to get some advice from you this evening about how we should move forward, at least from your perspective. So thanks for your time.
Alderman Brown?
So, Your Honor, I think with that, how to proceed with this. Mr. Black is asking for our feel on how we would like to proceed with this with this request he's got here, I guess. So I think the only way we can do that would be to I'll make a motion that we table this so that the developer can explore these opportunities. That's probably not the right way to make the motion. Somebody help me out here if you got an idea.
Just table it. You don't need to qualify it.
Just table it. You're correct. We would understand, with the understanding that we know now what his intent would be, we would just table it. Until
We gotta have a date.
we'd have to have a date certain.
Would you set a definite date, or are you going to postpone it indefinitely?
I think we would table it until, say, the committee of the whole meeting on February 6th. And if this motion doesn't pass, then I would suspect then that we would hear from Mr. Black whether he would like to withdraw his motion, or we'll go ahead with the vote on ordinance 17-59.
Need a second on the motion.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Laura has a point of procedure.
Mr. Mayor, this is not a debatable motion. A motion to table is a motion to table, so it calls for a vote.
I was just going to note that we were talking about continuing it to a committee of the whole meeting. Is that appropriate, or should it be continued to a city council meeting, since it has already passed the committee of the whole?
I guess I'm not positive about your procedures. It certainly strikes me as better to continue it to a city council meeting, at which you would then would appear on the agenda here, and then if it's appropriate to send it to the committee of the whole. Is that your normal process, by you delegate things to the committee of the whole from the council?
It would be the day before this, on the 5th.
I will amend my motion to table this discussion until the first council meeting of February, which is the 5th.
And a second to that.
A second to that.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and second to table this until the city council meeting on February 5th, 2018. We're not,
I understand there's no debate. Are we allowed to make any remarks at all?
It should be open for discussion, isn't it? Not debatable.
not debatable.
Can someone withdraw the motion so we can talk about it? Please? I respect the rules of order, but this is a pretty serious vote, and I think we should have a little bit of discussion before a second is made.
Are we going against Robert's rules of order here?
That's, well,
You'd
the
have to-
request was made, would the movement withdraw his motion? So that's certainly up to the movement. I suppose you could move to suspend your rules. That's a
No.
different motion.
I'm not asking to suspend rules. I'm just asking the motion maker to withdraw the motion just so we can talk for a
I
few
will
minutes.
withdraw the motion.
Thank you. The reason I wanted to talk about this is I agree. We've been through a lot. I appreciate that you can do math, the 9 to 5. You're not going to get 10 tonight, and the project dies. That said, I have been pretty consistently a yes vote. I have asked you a fair amount of questions that I can tell when I get emails. Some people think I'm against you, some people think I'm for you. But I can tell you that I don't think I'm a yes anymore based on what you have up on the wall. This is a better plan. What you have proposed is a change. It is a better plan. It calls everybody's bluffs. If someone is legitimately angry about units that do not have windows, that have skylights, this is a better plan. I can't vote for what's in front of me now because I see something better. But I also recognize that the changes that you're making might not be enough to get you a 10. And so I guess my question for you is, if we table this and push this off into the future, are we really dragging this on? Are we postponing the inevitable? Or is this group willing to have a serious discussion about the changes that are being proposed? That's it.
Alderman Wolf?
I guess where I'm at is there are 5 people that have already indicated that this plan as proposed does not appeal to them with their no votes. And I guess my question would be to anyone or all of those 5, are you willing to listen to anything different, or should we just take the vote now? That would be my question.
Take the vote now. I mean, honestly, my objections to this are safety, traffic, the traffic, the parking, the traffic through the complex. This is actually probably going to make the traffic through the complex worse, because now you definitely have less users in front parking there. It actually, I think, from that standpoint, traffic flow, I think it gets worse. I think the safety gets worse. Doesn't address the streets and sidewalks and everything we've been talking about, and those were a lot of my objections. It doesn't address the fact that this is still affecting, however you want to look at it, it's a tax-funded thing, rather than another developer coming in and building something that's money out of their pocket.
Alderman Callahan?
I can't stand being put on the defensive for a vote that is my decision. We're not saying to the yes votes, prove why you're not willing to listen to us on some of these concerns. The modifications are the items that we're talking about. Putting ribbons of glass in windows is not one of the modifications. There are modifications in here that we agree upon, and we did at the Committee of the Whole. There are a few modifications that, on my vote, do not allow me to vote yes. It does not mean I am against the project or for the project. We have a zoning code put in place, and we are modifying our laws, and we have to have reasons for that. The two, number 7 and number 10, which there's only 10 modifications. I don't control these modifications. Mr. Block, you control these 2 modifications. The cell towers. If you took those off, that's no longer a modification needed. The parking, I believe with the parking, we are told to look at this project as a unique project in and of itself and look at the challenges that this property has. This property is bounded by a state road and a county road and no additional parking. So the only parking envelope that we have is the only parking envelope that's available. We are asked, and it's been pointed out, well, why don't you compare this with this or that? Pick a side. Do you want us to look at the individual merits of this project, or do you want it to go with everything else in this town? But to those points, One North Washington was one of them. One North Washington has additional parking closer than this spot. It is also a public parking garage. It is also X. It is X and Y and Z. This one, people aren't going to be able to park on Route 31 or Fabian. They're not going to be able to park all over the grass because we would not allow that. We definitely wouldn't want to see people parking on all kinds of side streets and running across. That's why that is a safety issue. Put in enough parking, that modification goes away. If these modifications are not needed, I have stated all along, this is an allowable use. There is control by the developer to not ask for some of these modifications. And if there are no modifications, this does not go to a vote at all. It is being done, a private project being done on private property.
Anybody else?
Just to further, I mean, I agree with what Marty is saying, but I also think after, as somebody else said, 6.5 months of discussing this, after 200 hours in public meetings, we're only now looking at these changes that may or may not swing somebody's vote. I think by now we owe it to take the vote.
Alderman O'Brien?
I haven't said much at all, and I know, but I'll say it right now, and I don't know if this is appropriate at this time, but I am a no vote, and I will always be a no vote for this project. I have no issues with Evergreen, Mr. Block, I have no issues with you, you're a fine man. I believe this is not the right place for this project, okay? This is, thank you. This project, to me, does not belong on the outskirts of our city. I'm an advocate for subsidized housing. I believe it's needed in our town. We've already met our state mandate, but I still believe it's needed because we have people in our town who need it. But I cannot put people off to the side. I'd rather see us do subsidized housing in our downtown, in a neighborhood where the people are then integrated into the community. I want the people in this facility, in this housing development, to be part of the community. I want the community to embrace these people. So I say put it in a neighborhood and don't put it off to the side in a building, no offense to anybody, that looks like a jail, okay? And it's going to be surrounded by people who are opposed to the project, which is not a benefit to these people. And I just don't see them having any access to joining the community of Batavia. And so therefore, I am so totally opposed to it. But I am not, and I've been having people call me say, but you have to do it for subsidized housing and the people need it. And I get that and I support that. But these people, I believe, will be unjustly served because they will suffer in this facility. And that's why I'm a no vote, and I will always be a no vote. And it has nothing to do with Evergreen, and I appreciate everything you've been trying to accommodate, all the questions, but you never could accommodate my feelings. And that's how I'm going to stand too.
Thank you for your candor.
Alderman Savati?
You called me out, and I appreciate that. This has been a long process, and I one of the couple things. First, I'm pro-development. I don't want to ever put barriers in the way of people wanting to invest in our community, because they're few and far between when we try and find people to bring dollars into our community and to invest within the infrastructure. That being said, we've been going, this is probably one of the more controversial things we've done, at least since I've been on this council. And while I appreciate what you've brought back, I firmly believe that a partnership, you're kind of speaking out of both sides of your mouth a little bit by saying, well, we've listened to the people, but we can count, right? And so, I appreciate it, but the fact of the matter is, there has been so much public input. There's been more than I can ever remember. And there's been some very good public input. There's been some great statistics. There's been a lot of money invested by the public. And I feel like, it wasn't until you realized that you had a numbers issue that you went back to the drawing board. And that frustrates me to a degree. And I have no personal, I've heard lots of people speak good things about you. But I struggle with that. I struggle with only until your back is against the wall that has changed. And again, I have zero against affordable housing. I encourage affordable housing. We need it. We do have a state mandate, but that doesn't stop us from increasing our percentages. To Mike's, Mr. O'Brien's point, this may not be the right thing in the right place, and that's kind of how I feel. That intersection in itself, and this has nothing to do with the configuration, honestly.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with that intersection. It has a lot to do with kids getting to school. It has a lot to do with tax credit. There's a lot of intangibles there for me that I struggle with. Again, you drive through that intersection, you take your life in your own hands. And a lot needs to change that intersection. It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't. But that's the nature of it. And the nature of the status that's conferred on that building makes it very difficult for any developer to do anything. And I appreciate the creativity that you've brought to try and make this happen. I really do. It's not easy as a business owner and developer to try and put those things into place. I just don't think they sync up. And I think the ends don't always justify the means, but we have to make sure they line up. And I just don't think that happens here. That's my opinion.
Anybody else? Alderman Ajak.
I hear what everyone's saying. I guess I look at it a little bit differently. One, I think that intersection is finally on the state's radar, from what I've heard from them. They now realize that that is an issue, and hopefully they'll be paying attention to it. They want to. A lot of people want. So, that's one thing that we can work forward. I see this incredible residential community just to the south. It's thriving there. People love being there. And I don't understand why right across the street to the north that it's not acceptable for a residential community. I mean, it's okay for senior citizens to live there and live very wonderfully there. My parents live there. I have a lot of friends that live there, and they love it. To the north, it's not acceptable. I think the design is really cool. I don't think that this proposal makes it that much better or that much worse. I'm not sure. I'd like to see the plans. I'd like to see the designs of the units that would be in the outbuilding. But, there's sidewalks on the property. Batavia has put their sidewalks in along Route 31, and they have been there for decades. And then the developer has said that they'll put a sidewalk on the portion that goes along Fabian. So it will go up right to the area of Allendale, and there are a lot of kids that are successfully walking to school there. I don't know why these kids are going to have any harder time getting to school than the Allendale kids. So, I'm not following a lot of the reasoning. I think it would be a benefit to our town. I think that, often with projects like this, there are objections like the bike path objection that the mayor referred to when we were talking about putting the bike path through town, and then it turns out to be a really great project. So I I would still be in support of it, and I would be in support of delaying the project so that we have some more time to think about it. Maybe 6 months just hasn't been enough.
What would you think about?
I think that they're different ways to think of it. Like I said, the homestead is just to the south and doing a really great job. Kids in Allendale are walking to school very safely. There's a new development north on Route 31 that's going to have kids, and there's going to be no sidewalk along Route 31, and they're going to find their way to school. So, maybe there needs to be more information. I'm not sure, but I'm not getting some of the objections.
I discussed it for 6 months.
I know the development just north they have an egress out into the neighborhood behind it.
No sidewalks.
That's okay, but there's no way for the kids to get to Allendale right now. I mean, they're going to go to the end of their property, but then there's 150, 200 yards.
And it's further from the new subdivision, the backside of it that goes on to Sunset. It's further, I have walked it and measured it. It's further from that to Fargo to the nearest sidewalk than it is from where it would terminate at Allen Drive to get to the sidewalk that's on Allen Drive to the north.
But there's private property between Allendale and this proposed development.
Yes, there's private property between both of them.
So
with no sidewalks.
No, there is on Fabian Parkway. There is private property that there would be no sidewalk on.
There is county right of way that I believe they could put the sidewalk on.
They could. They haven't committed, right? So at this point, we're building a sidewalk to a culvert.
The end of their property.
Right, which the kids would then be forced to walk either out onto Fabian Parkway to get to Allendale, or they'd walk through the culvert or whatever. And I understand what you're saying about there's no sidewalk on Sunset back there, but that is a very, very slow street. There's nothing compared to, it's apples and oranges. That's my opinion.
Right.
And I've driven back there too.
And that's why I asked the question, because I think it needs to be said from each one of us what the real truths are for each one of us, what we feel about what we vote or how we vote on this. And that's why I asked it. I didn't mean for you to take it as you having to defend it, but I think it needs to be said to the developer in public so that they know exactly what they're up against. If this is what the reality is, this is what reality is.
Sure.
So that's what I was asking for. So
appreciate that.
Well, I guess to that point, where have I been for the past 6 months? Because I've consistently stated what I've thought about. And I guess, Lucy, would more time of thinking about it change your mind? Or is a tabling to see if the 5 people will change their minds? Because I have thought about this, and if you don't understand it, we just have to agree to disagree. I look at things differently than you do on it, and I've accepted that.
And
I've looked at, I've heard what people that have said yes to it, and I have not once tried to change any yes person's.
But you brought up 2 points today.
Yes, and
maybe the
if
developer would want time to think about that.
But I've stated there, if you go back to the initial review on this, what did we as a council say? We were open to it, but we have concerns about the traffic, which I understand. And I have told anyone who's listening, pro or con, that this project with what they're doing with the right-of-way does address some of the concerns for that intersection. There are pluses to this project. There are. There are also negatives. And I've stated what my negatives are and mine alone.
Right, to save power in the parking.
And those could be changeable if Mr. Block feels that he wants to change those, or if enough people. Then on that, I would agree to disagree on that and say, that's the way the vote goes. At least I couldn't be any more clearer on which of the things that we are actually have control and are voting on, I have issues with. That's it. There's no other things that are hanging out there or alternate agendas. If those are corrected, then it goes away as
think
far as
that's
a
good.
vote.
I guess it didn't sink in for me that was those were the complete stumbling blocks for you. I thought there might be other things too, so I didn't
We
know
have,
that.
we have 10 modifications.
Right, I agree.
And
that's where we
we've
need to focus.
agreed on several of these modifications, and on others, you have 5 that said no. And now you also have the finding of fact. The longer this has gone on, there's actually more questions that I have surrounding the finding of fact on it. And those could be addressed or not addressed.
That's a good point too.
So, Your Honor, I don't know, I'll make one comment and then I'll move on. Sometimes I'm for extending the conversation, sometimes I'm not. In a case like this, I really kind of feel like, as we just saw here tonight, there's still a lot of questions between the council. I listened very closely to what everybody was saying and the debating that was going back and forth. And Scott and Alan, there was some confusion there as to where there's sidewalk and where there isn't sidewalk. So there's obviously still some confusion over the whole project. It doesn't sound like there's going to be a majority, it doesn't sound like there's going to be a 10 vote here tonight, but having been around here as long as I have been around here, I've realized that sometimes, you do get good ideas from listening to all these conversations. And sometimes that's what it takes in order to get a good project. I can remember one time when we were going to spend $20-some million on a water treatment facility and we were ready to do it. And after talking about it for years, somebody comes up with a great idea on how they can do it. A local Batavia resident, and saved us millions of dollars. Something that all these engineers never thought of, but somebody came up with a great idea. And it was because we listened and because we said, let's listen. So sometimes listening is the best thing to do. So I'm all for listening, and I'm all for letting this project continue on a little bit longer to see if we can get something that will make everybody, you're not going to make everybody happy, but to see if we can get something that makes a little more sense to some of the people that don't think it makes sense. One of the concerns I heard was the traffic. Well, this developer is willing to dedicate some of the property as right-of-way to the county. If this development doesn't go through, and we all think we need to fix that intersection, how's the county going to get that property? They're going to have to condemn it? They're going to have to eminent domain? What are they going to have to do in order to get it? So will that property, will that traffic problem ever be cured? This is a cure for that. But
Not necessarily.
But we could all debate this back and forth, I guess, all night long, and I don't think the developer nor the public deserve that. I'm going to make the motion to table it till February 5th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to table. That takes precedence, so clerk call the roll, please.
Is that a table just for 1759 or also 17103?
This will be just 1759.
So February 5th of 2018.
Brown?
Aye.
Rosato?
Aye.
Atack? Aye. Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
No.
Salvati?
No.
O'Brien?
No.
Callahan?
No.
Meitzler?
No.
Molay?
Aye.
Ewer?
No.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
6.
Yes. 8-6.
Motion passes.
It doesn't need
It does not require a 10, no, this is just a motion to table. It's a simple majority vote. I heard 8 aye and 6 no, is that right, Madam
Yes.
Clerk? And
Yep.
motion passed.
Yep.
All right, so with that being said, then, Resolution 17-103-R, I believe the developer wants to withdraw that?
They go together, so
So move.
I don't know if I withdraw it or have it tabled along with the rest of it.
I'll table it until the same meeting, February 5th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second then to table Resolution 17-103-R until the meeting on February 5th, 2018.
I'd like to make a privileged motion for a question.
What would that be?
So that we don't run afoul of the Open Meetings Act, how does the public get to comment on any items being voted upon here tonight?
If we table an item, it
Well,
wouldn't be.
it's tabled. If the motion.
We were getting ready to vote on another one, and I'm asking for clarity.
that, too.
We haven't taken the
Well,
vote.
there's a motion to table.
it.
But we're talking about for no discussion. I want to make sure that we're clear that there will be no public discussion.
Well,
Is
there not public comment later on your agenda?
We're not, things
For
not-
items not on the agenda.
Were you looking to take testimony tonight?
Not testimony. I don't know if that, you have to always allow public, if we're doing our Open Meetings Act,
No, you do not have to allow comment on items on your agenda. You have to allow comment.
You're
Repeat
tabling
that.
it, you're tabling.
Say that again?
You do not have to allow comment on your agenda items at any time. You have to allow public comment on whatever the public wishes to comment on.
and so anyone could speak on item number 15 related to this.
Later on.
Okay.
I think.
That's just what I'm making sure.
Mr. Seckel, wasn't there recently some clarification about the council's public comment policy?
I think you're right.
Did I say the right thing? Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and second then to table, resolution 17-103-R. Clerk call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Wolf.
No.
Salvati.
Nope.
O'Brien.
No.
Callahan.
No.
Meitzler.
No.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
No.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
8-6.
Motion passed.
8-6 is approved,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Approved 8-6.
Yes.
So in your opinion, are we done with the discussion now?
Yes.
Why don't you
The
just-
matter is set over to February 5th, 2018, regular council meeting.
All right, well, then the next item on the agenda is matters from the public. So does anybody want to address the council?
Mr. McWillan.
Come on up.
For items not on the agenda.
Items not on the agenda.
Well, that's more table.
Hi, I'm Samantha Molesky, resident of Allendale in Geneva.
Could you,
Sure, sorry.
could you state your name again, please?
Samantha Molesky. So I'm just wanting some clarity on what happens on the 5th. Mr. Block said this will go back to historic review. This will go back to maybe the historic agency. What is happening on the 5th? And what is your policy? Does it have to go back to a public hearing?
The matter is tabled till February 5th. In the meantime, it will totally depend on what occurs before the city can opine or determine what steps will be necessary. There's nothing on file yet. So the answer is, we don't know at this time.
Are there deadlines for when they would have to turn something in for you guys
No,
to make an?
There are not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
My name is Pamela Stewart, and I'm at 724 South Batavia Avenue. I've lived on that street for over 13 years now. I've lived in Geneva for over 25 years. I travel that road probably 4 times a week because my mother is in a assisted living here right in Batavia, and I really appreciate the assisting living where she lives here. But I want to tell you, within the last 5 weeks, there has been an accident on that corner that I have had to go across Ellen Drive getting to my home. And that is a very dangerous intersection. Last week, there was a very dangerous accident there, and it's where it's going from 4 lanes to 2 lanes now. And I wish you would really consider that. And if you do not live there, I don't think you really know what goes on in that area. every day when we hear the ambulances go by, many times we've gone out there and there's been bad accidents for the last 13 years there. And that's been before and will be after. So I hope you consider the children that are going to be there. I know Scott knows that we work with foster children too, and we're for this foster children. I work as a counselor for Royal Family Kids Camp with these children, and I do not want to see them put in the dangerous situation of that intersection. And we're all for the community, but this is a very, very dangerous intersection, and I would not want my own children walking there, and I appreciate you looking at this further. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Bob McQuillan, I'm a resident of Batavia. More than a week ago, I asked the City Administrator, Ms. Newman, several pointed questions. She really didn't answer them. It was a paragraph form, and there were two specifically that she did not answer. And one I want to bring up tonight. And I re-asked her this afternoon if she planned to give me an answer of this, and I would appreciate an answer by this evening's meeting. And that was, what happens with Mr. Block, and how is the process? When does he have to come back? How long does he have to wait to come back? And what is the process? And again, no response this afternoon. But surprisingly, Mayor Schulte read a response that was very close to what I wanted to. And I just want to make sure that I heard what I heard. So respectfully, Mayor Schulte, would you read that response again?
Well, I will tell you, I mean, the answer to your question is that Mr. Block will be coming back here, I assume, if he wants to, on the 5th of February and tell us what his plans are, or that's what he thinks he is or is not going to do. And from that conversation, we would go forward and take it to all these various Plan Commission, Historic Preservation.
That's what I wanted to make definite, that if he comes back on February 5th and presents again a new proposal to the City Council, you do not vote for that proposal on the 5th. He has to go back to the Planning Commission and then has to go through the whole process. He actually has to go through the process of an application again. The Planning Commission?
That is not the answer that you've just been given. I think I answered for the lady who spoke a few moments ago, sir. Depends on what is submitted. And nothing's been submitted to date, so there's no answer to your question tonight.
Okay, I'll revise my question, Mr. Attorney.
Point of order. If we're following Robert's Rules of Order, this is a public comment time, not a public question time.
Correct.
So I would ask that the board not respond to the questioner when it's not a question time, if we're to be following Robert's rules.
I'm going to ask a question anyhow. I don't know if you want to answer it or not, Alderman, but I'm a resident of Batavia, and I think I should be allowed to ask this question. And please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. When he comes back on the 5th, can this council vote that evening and approve any changes that have been made to the original proposal?
I think I can answer that for you.
I'll
You didn't hear 10 votes. He might withdraw his application.
He might. He might not. He may make a presentation just like you did.
He did say
he did this evening.
Point of order again. In the last meeting we had, Mr. McQuillan hijacked our meeting, violating Robert's rules, and here we're allowing him to do it again.
I respectfully asked if the meeting could be open to public comment, because Mr. Block had the opportunity to change the agenda.
Allowed to make his comment. It's not a debate.
You're allowed to make your comment. We're not going to enter into a debate, but we're certainly entering your questions into the record so that they're there for everybody to have. I will read you again what you asked me to do. But this is what I said the last time I read this. At any rate, if the new plan required the same modifications as the old plan, it would still have to go through the design review with the Plan Commission and get a certification of approval from the Batavia Historic Preservation Commission. I think that's what you asked me.
Yes.
That's what it says here.
Can I get clarification of that?
Well, I don't know. Go ahead and ask me.
Any revision to his original plan needs to start with the Planning Commission again, correct?
I think I would refer to staff because it's going to be whatever would require or makes a requirement that would send it back through that process. If he comes in and says, I'm going to change the color of the window, I don't think that requires it, but that would be a modification under your words to the plan.
Well, your zoning code,
Right.
which I've read several times, says that the community development manager, if I'm getting that right, can make minor changes to a proposal. He cannot make major changes to a proposal. So city staff can't make major changes. So my question is very easy, and I don't understand why this isn't known.
I think it's already been asked and answered. I mean, if there's a major change to it, if he wants to put units into a different building, that's enough of a change that it has to go back through the process.
Okay, so under your understanding, Mr. Wolf, or Alderman Wolf, if he makes that proposal, which he just made tonight,
right,
on the 5th, you cannot vote on that.
No, we would not vote on that. It would go back through the public process.
That's all I wanted to know. Does everybody agree on that? Do you agree on that, Mr. Malay?
I have no comments.
Next.
My name is Scott Tim. I've lived on Considine Road in Geneva for 33 years. Been in this Fox Valley area my whole life. I moved on Considine Road, like I said, 33 years ago when the traffic was nowhere near what it is today. And just coming home to our house, when you're heading west on Fabian Parkway across that 31 intersection to try to turn into Allen Drive, you got to watch your taillights, watch the people behind you because you get pushed into that Allen Drive just to get off of Fabian Parkway. And if somebody's sitting there waiting to get out and you've got to wait a long time just to get out of Allen Drive, you're almost going to get hit. My son did get broadsided one time about 15 years ago. And to whoever said that Campana is a beautiful building for people to live, I worked in a factory for 37 years as a printer. I wouldn't want to live in a factory because you can't see outside. I don't care. The Homestead is a beautiful place to live. They've got windows everywhere. Those people can roam around everywhere they want, all out on the grounds and everything. Campana is a factory, and that's what it always was. It's not set for living.
My name is Josh Bailey Green. I'm a pastor in the community and a resident. And just real quick, I don't want to oversimplify the issue, but it seems practically speaking, a vote against this project, given its history, the building's history, is a vote against the Campana building. So.
Hi, I'm Emily Erickson. I live in Allendale. 2 questions. I know that KDOT and IDOT have submitted reviews and suggestions. I wanted to know if they're going to be incorporated into the plan or when we're going to be able to see them. I know that they have, I think, suggested some movement of the entrance on 31. My other question is just because I was a little bit confused by that whole exchange. Simply, could there potentially be a vote, yes or no, on the 5th?
Yes.
Yes, I
If
suppose there
Mr.
could.
Block brings back the plan that we at the COW, Committee of the Whole, approved and sent to City Council with a positive recommendation, we could vote on that.
So basically, just what we saw tonight. If nothing changes, then there'll be a vote.
Well, what we saw tonight up there was a change.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
That we would not vote on that.
Okay, so he'd have to scratch that and just bring back what he did before.
The original plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you. At this time, we'll go to item 16, which is the administrator's report. Laura?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, just a few items to share with everybody. Of course, with the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, our offices will be closed on Thursday, November 23rd and the 24th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. From Public Works, the Area 3 stormwater, the outfall project has been completed.
Can we take a couple of minutes for the place to clear, please?
I'd ask that everybody, if you're going to talk, please go out into the hall, please, because we still have some business to conduct here.
And the next phase of the Area 3 storm sewer project will be bid this winter for construction in the spring of 2018. Our last official leaf collection is being completed on the east side this week, but per Scott Haynes' correspondence, which has also been shared on social media, if weather allows, we are planning to do an additional citywide pickup the week of November 27th. And that, of course, is dependent that we don't see a huge snowstorm in the forecast in the meantime and have to, because we use those very same trucks for our snow removal. We are, of course, continuing to work with Metronet to coordinate our utility locates so that they can continue with their fiber construction. Alderman Salvati?
Yeah, real quick, with the leaves too.
Yes.
In December, correct? You can put them in your
Advanced or the bag, the leaf bags.
Correct. And
No stickers. Advanced disposal picks those up for free in the month of December.
Can you
Thank
use the regular yard waste cans? I forgot to ask that last time.
I'm not aware of a yard waste can. Rahat,
Well,
do you know if there's a yard waste can?
We do, because I use them.
Designated.
I use them all summer long. But can you use that instead of a bag in the winter for the free pickup?
I don't have an answer to that today, but we'll try to, because we'll do an update on social media of the leaves.
Maybe put that in there if it's true.
Yeah, can we get that on the city websites? I get questions about this almost on a daily basis as to what we're going to do. So if Chris can prepare an article about it.
Yes, he's got one already. And we will make sure it's prominent on our homepage so that everybody knows. Back to Metronet. One of the things that Metronet has offered is that because the need for these utility locates are so many, that they are willing to reimburse the city for the overtime that's necessary to stay out in front of the project. So we've established a process for that, and our first invoice has been sent to them. The water crews, unfortunately, have already worked on a couple of main breaks in the last week, but it's just a sign that cold weather is here. Pre-construction meeting for the electric vehicle charger station at City Hall. The installation is scheduled to begin the week of November 27th. In community and economic development, the hotel market and feasibility study, the staff has reviewed, evaluated, and researched the references and also similar studies in the selection and coordination consideration for the professional consultant to complete this study. We anticipate that the contract will be executed by both parties the week of November 20th, and thereafter staff expects that the study to be completed within 6 weeks of that date. There's been a lot of work going on with regard to evaluation of the change in the One Washington Place project. Over the last 2 weeks, staff has spent time further evaluating the proposed project composition changes to include the effect of the project's financial pro forma and rates of return on investment for the developer, the net change of parking spaces provided versus the demand for parking from project uses, and also what updates may be necessary to the original traffic impact study for the One Washington Place project. And also we've been taking a look at the experience of other Chicago suburbs like Barrington, Lisle, Orland Park, Western Springs, in the proposal, approval, and build-out of similar high-density downtown redevelopment projects to see what effects there were on the composition in terms of commercial versus residential. And also, staff will present its findings in all of these matters, and also the developer will be scheduled to attend the November 28th Committee of the Whole meeting. Is there any question around the One Washington Place project? Let's see, in information systems, Howard Chasen asked that I let you know that Civics Plus has been updating the login authentication process. And beginning on December 2nd, this is to comply with HIPAA and PCI requirements. So it will require that anybody who has a login to the website, and this affecting people like who pay their utility bills online, it's going to ask them to change their password to conform so that it's a more safe type of password. So you just need to follow the instructions online in order to do that. The antiquated PA system that we have here in this building is going to be updated in December with new amplifiers and additional speakers that will be installed in the entire building. It used to be that the PA system was only on the police side of the building. Now the PA system will include all areas of the building, and this is an important safety improvement. And also, Mike Kamen has been working on a development project map that will be an interactive map, and so that anyone can go to our website, see visually what projects are happening around town, and then also click and receive an update as to the status of those projects. In the communications department, on the branding project, I and Chris Cudworth had a conference call with Spark Inc. this past week. They have completed their research, and they were asked to present the results of the research, the brand architecture, and their ideas of branding to the City Council at an upcoming meeting. One of the key members of their project team is not available in the month of January, so we were seeing if we could possibly get it on a meeting date in December. And we had identified the committee of the whole meeting on December 19th. I've got 10 of you who indicated that you will be in attendance at that meeting, but I think it's important for the branding meeting that we be at 100%. I make sure that everyone can attend. So if it's not possible to get it there in December, then maybe we just, if everyone is okay with that, postpone that until February so that all their key members of their team can be there to respond to any of the questions that we might have as well.
The date you gave me, I'm not available.
Yeah, mayor's not available that day, so.
Not February 5th?
You don't think?
Too soon?
No?
Really?
Wait.
Why, wait, that date sticks in my head.
Is there going to be a document that they could put out ahead of time?
Yes.
So, maybe if it's ready in December, they could get that out? So we could-
Sure, I'll
some
talk
time
to
to
them
look at
about
it.
that. Chris, did you note that? If there's a document ahead of time that could be distributed to city council, that we'll get that out to them in December? Thanks. That's all I had, unless anybody had any questions for me.
Question.
Alderman O'Brien?
You had said something about the water mains, that they were leaking, and you attributed that to cold weather. Are they freezing?
Yes, I believe so. In this case, we had a few main breaks this past week, and we had our sewer crews sent out to residents. I can remember 2 instances where people were getting water in their homes.
It's kind of, I guess something we should be aware of, because that's kind of, concerning. It's not been that cold that we have water mains freezing. And when the dead of winter comes, then we come into bigger problems. So perhaps we should look into that.
Rahat, did you have any comment?
We had a couple of freezing situations in the last couple of weeks, and that contributed to our water main.
Can we use the mic? I can't hear.
So in last couple of weeks, we had couple of days when the temperature went below freezing situation, and that's when the water main typically breaks, if it is an older water main. So,
how big were these water mains?
I'm not completely sure how big those were, but we got pages showing that there were a couple of incidents.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying maybe the infrastructure is getting too old, and it's something we should start looking into, because it just sounds premature to me that something, just because it froze overnight and warms during the daytime, that it would be freezing for a water main. There's just too much water moving. And so I just have that concern. That our aged infrastructure might need some addressing.
That's something the Public Works Department looks at, that how many water main breaks happen on a stretch of, water main, and then they will say that we have to replace it.
Mhm.
So Jeremy and Public Works Department will be looking at those things.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Brown, you had a question?
Comment, MetroNet.
Yes.
Never heard of them until you guys brought them to us 6 months ago or so.
Mhm.
Seemed like a stand-up company. What you just said too about how they're offering to pay for the overtime in order to keep moving. I just want to make a comment that what I've seen them do around town, very professional, very clean. They go in, they auger, they make their little ditches, and then they cover everything back up and plant grass within a week, it seems like.
That
So
is-
I thought that is very recognizable, because you don't see that very often.
No, you sure don't. Their process is to restore the same week that they do the construction
Yeah.
in any area. And they are committed that if, late in the season, it may be hard to get the restoration to take. And so with a phone call or can make a claim online to them, they will respond to you within 24 hours, and they will come out and do a restoration of that area, because they realize that the people whose yards they are performing this construction in are the very same people that they want to become MetroNet customers. And this is their very first opportunity to make a good impression on their service. Alderman Meitzler?
Just a follow-up, I believe it was last week, you said the Siemens property, we were looking to get a firmer date as to when they were looking to wrap up. Is there any update on that front?
Scott?
They are, they've had some delays due to some grading changes they had to do. As you recall, they had some issues with some of the drainage out there, and they had to retool some of their grading plans, so they could not finish their restoration. We're at the point now where grass is not going to take at this point of the year. So they will, their intention is to remove the fence once they have 75% vegetation, growth of the grass out there. So unfortunately, the fence will remain up through the winter and be taken down in spring.
Any other questions for her?
I also just wanted to thank the members of the Batavia Police Department who, for it seems like time immemorial, have been coming out to help us with these meetings where we have a tremendous amount of people here, and I really want to thank you guys for your support of these meetings. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, committee reports, Alderman Brown, public.
Not much to announce, Your Honor. Historic Preservation is going to meet the 27th at 5:30. And the next CDC meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, the 28th, and the only thing I know of on the agenda is 1 North Washington. That's all I have.
Government Services, Alderman Atek.
I do not have a report this evening.
City Services, Alderman Wolf.
I have nothing this evening right now.
Public Utilities, Alderman O'Brien.
Well, Your Honor, thank you. November 28th at the Cal, we'll be talking, looking at a change order with Williams Brothers for the wastewater treatment rehabilitation project. We'll be looking at purchase of a digger derrick from Terex Utilities. And lastly, we'll be declaring certain transformers and switch gears to be surplus.
Okay. I guess we're done with committee reports. Other business, anybody in the council have other business?
I didn't want to get Jamie mad at me, so I waited until she left. But shop small on Saturday, shop early so you can leave by noon to get out to DeKalb to get a good parking spot. You can go to the game.
What time is the game?
4 o'clock.
Against
4
who?
o'clock. Lake Zurich.
Thank you.
The Bears. And this is one time that I'm going to root for the Bears to lose. It's going to be a great game. Hopefully it's going to be great weather, much better than the snowstorm that we had in Lyle last week. But it was a good game nonetheless.
I was at a lunch today with the mayor of Frankfurt. He told me that because of Batavia's defeat, it ended their, they thought there was going to be a chance where they were going to have 2 schools in the state tournament, class 7 and 6 or 7.
From that area,
From that area but we beat
Mhm.
Frankfurt, so.
I think, is Lincoln Way,
That's
East still in?
That's Frankfurt.
They got like 3 schools.
it was west, yeah, west,
North.
well,
Lincoln.
north is still in it, right? Or,
They just closed north and they moved them to east.
Right.
So that's the one that we beat.
Mhm.
Okay, under the mayor's report, I just wanted to make mention what Alderman Wolf just mentioned. This coming Saturday, Batavia High School is going to play in the state championship football game at Northern Illinois at 4 o'clock. And we expect quite a crowd there. As some of you may know, we have been escorting the team back into town when they've won the last 2 games. We did it Saturday afternoon with the fire and police department, and we had a nice crowd through the parade route and then out to high school. So it was seemingly very well approved. So we have that, and then this coming Sunday, as Jamie's already reported, we're going to have quite a little event down here. Santa Claus is coming, and we may be honoring the Bulldogs,
nice
and
to
we
have a state
we may
champion.
have we're going to have a band concert at the Batavia Community Band is going to play, and so between 4 and 7 ought to be quite an active little time down here, and we expect quite a crowd. So hopefully the weather is going to cooperate, and we will do a nice little community thing here. We get quite a few Santa Claus believers down here on that night. So anyway, it should be a nice night. And so no other business. Alderman, somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
I didn't.
Motion and second for adjournment. Clerk, take a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.